Before we really get into the weeds today, I just want to take a quick second to speak directly to you, the listener.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you are someone who has been with us, loyally tuning in and enjoying our content every week, just thank you, honestly.
It means so much to have you in the room with us for these deep dives.
It really does. Your support is literally the engine of this show. And if you want to help us keep doing this, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe.
For sure.
It is basically the single best way to ensure we can keep bringing this level of analysis directly to you. So thank you again.
We really appreciate it.
Okay, so we have a massive mission today. We are going to completely dissect the post-World Cup transfer market.
And it is absolute chaos out there right now.
It really is. But let's set the macro context first, because, the 2026 World Cup is officially wrapped up, the stadiums are empty, the confetti is gone.
The physical and emotional hangover is definitely set in.
Oh, totally. And just to recap, England took home the bronze medal.
Which is a whole discussion on its own, honestly.
Yeah, right. And then Argentina secured the runner-up spot after just a grueling run. But Spain took the crown. I just have to say it, Vamos.
They were incredible. And really, Spain provided this absolute masterclass in systemic football.
Yeah, they didn't just win. They showed that a cohesive unit beats a bunch of isolated superstars.
Exactly. But, a tournament of this magnitude, it acts like a pressure cooker for the global football ecosystem.
What do you mean by pressure cooker exactly?
Well, it inflates player values incredibly fast, and it completely exhausts the players.
Right.
So with the international stuff over, club football is waking up with an absolute vengeance.
It's like everyone is panicking, right?
Exactly. And our goal for this deep dive is to show you the invisible threads connecting all these seemingly random, chaotic transfers.
Yeah, because we are talking about hijack deals, collapsed medicals, and just astronomical fees for teenagers.
By the end of this, you'll understand how a move in Europe directly impacts Saudi Arabia and South America. It's all connected.
So let's pull the first thread. And we're starting at the very highest level of management over in Portugal.
Right, because the fallout from the World Cup isn't just about the players.
Exactly. Roberto Martinez has officially resigned as the manager of the Portugal national team.
A massive shift.
And stepping into his spot is Jorge Jesus.
Which completely rewrites the tactical identity of that team post-World Cup.
Totally. For those who don't follow it closely, Martinez is all about control, right? Positional play, moving the ball methodically.
Very risk-averse.
Yeah. But Jorge Jesus is, he's basically a mythical figure in Portuguese football, and he is the polar opposite.
Oh, absolutely. His style is intense, vertical, aggressive. It's heavy metal football.
So what does that mean for the clubs? Does that trickle down?
It has to.
Yeah.
Because the profile of player the national team demands is now going to be totally different. And you can see that cultural shift at the club level, especially with Sporting CP right now.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Sporting, because they are pulling off some fascinating moves.
They really are.
They just sold Morten Hjulmand to Atletico Madrid, and we are talking about a massive $40 million package plus $5 million in add-ons.
Signing a contract until June 2031. It's a huge deal.
It is. And to replace him, or at least to fill their attacking void, they bring in this young winger, Jesse Derry, on a full season loan from Chelsea.
Right.
It reminds me of like a high-end boutique.
How so?
Well, they sell their bespoke custom goods like Hjulmand for a fortune to the big spenders in Madrid.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then instead of spending that money on another expensive asset, they basically rent out their window space to display Chelsea's shiny new prototypes like Derry.
That is a perfect analogy, because Sporting knows they can't compete financially with the Premier League or Real Madrid.
Right. They know their place in the food chain.
Exactly. So they bank that $45 million to secure their future, and they use the loan market to stay competitive on the pitch today without taking on any financial risk.
So Chelsea takes all the risk.
Pretty much. Chelsea pays the wages, Sporting gets the player, and Derry gets the development. It's a win-win for them. Speaking
of Chelsea and risk, let's pivot to the Premier League, because the amount of money being thrown at youth players right now is it's mind-boggling.
The teenager arms race is what we're looking at.
It really is. Look at Manchester City. They already signed Elliot Anderson.
Right.
But now they are prepared to drop a staggering $100 million on Lille's young Moroccan star, Ayyoub Bouaddi.
A truly astronomical fee.
100 million.
No.
And here's the crazy part. They are going to immediately loan him back to Lille for the whole season.
Yeah, immediately.
Help me understand this. Why on earth would you pay 100 million for a player and then actively refuse to use him for a year?
Well, if you look at it like a normal football fan, it's insane. But you have to look at it like a commodities trader.
Okay, break that down for me.
City is forecasting market inflation. They know that if Bouaddi stays at Lille and has another great season, in 2 years, he won't cost 100 million.
Let me guess, he'll cost 200 million.
Exactly. Or PSG or Real Madrid will swoop in.
Yeah.
So City is hoarding this generational talent right now to bypass that future inflation.
Oh, wow. So they pay a premium now to save money later.
Yes. They lock the asset down, and by loaning him back to Lille, he gets guaranteed playing time in an environment he already knows.
Instead of sitting on the bench in Manchester.
Right. It protects their $100 million investment.
That is so calculated. But then you look at Chelsea, and their strategy feels, I don't know, a lot more hostile.
It definitely is.
I mean, they just pulled off this incredible 117 million hijack to get Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa.
And the key word there is hijack.
Right, because Arsenal was right there about to sign him, and Chelsea just stepped in and took him.
Which is a deliberate tactic. You buy the star, and you actively damage a direct rival at the same time.
It's ruthless. And just to get the details right, Rogers signed a 6-year contract with an option for an additional year.
That contract length is key for their accounting, for sure.
But wait, let me unpack this. You buy a player for 117 million for your first team.
Yeah, but at the exact same time, you are loaning out guys like Jesse Derry to Sporting and Leslie Ugochukwu to Galatasaray.
Right, Ugochukwu went with a 30 million Ormanen option.
Exactly. So how does that make sense? You are buying premium, ready-made stars, but using Europe as a dumping ground for your youth.
It's not a dumping ground, it's a finishing school.
The finishing school?
Yeah, so Chelsea has a dual strategy. They buy Rogers to win now and disrupt Arsenal. But the youth pipeline, like sending Ugochukwu to Turkey, is meant to inflate their value.
I see. So if he does well.
If he does well, Galatasaray triggers that 30 million option. And on Chelsea's accounting books, academy products or youth players sold like that represent pure profit.
Oh, wow.
And that pure profit is exactly what allows them to go out and drop 117 million on Morgan Rogers under the financial fair play rule.
It's a giant financial feedback loop.
Exactly.
But man, the collateral damage from that 117 million move is wild. I mean, it basically forced Aston Villa into this frantic, chaotic restructuring.
The Aston Villa domino effect. It's a complete exodus over there. First, they lose Morgan Rogers to Chelsea.
A massive loss for their attack.
Then, their French left back, Lucas Digne, leaves for PSG for 10 million, signing until June 2029.
Losing defensive stability and width.
Right. And then the absolute worst part, they lose Youri Tielemans to Manchester United.
That's the engine of their team. Gone.
Completely gone. United just triggered his 35 million release clause and signed him until June 2031. So Villa is sitting there with all this Chelsea and United money, but no team.
They have gaping holes in their starting 11.
So what do? They completely panic. They take that cash and immediately hijack Newcastle's deal for Johan Manzambi.
For 60 million.
60 million for a young Swiss player. I mean, it's like, imagine your house just got completely dismantled by billionaires, right?
Yeah.
They take your roof, they take the walls, and your response is to run down the street and steal your neighbor's really expensive new sofa.
That is exactly what it looks like.
It doesn't fix the house.
No, it doesn't. And that's the psychology of a panic buy. Villa has this sudden cash injection, their fans are panicking, and they feel this immense pressure to prove they aren't just a feeder club.
So they buy a 60 million teenager to make a statement.
Right. But tactically, Manzambi does not replace what Tielemans did for them. Tielemans dictated the entire tempo of the Premier League.
And Manzambi is coming from the Swiss league.
Exactly. He has huge potential, but he's a project. This move was driven by a bruised ego and a fat wallet, not smart squad building.
And the craziest part of this whole Villa situation, they only lost Tielemans because of a disaster happening over at Manchester United.
It really shows how fragile the whole transfer ecosystem is.
One failed medical literally changed the destiny of 3 clubs.
Medicals are the invisible wall of the transfer window.
So here's what happened. Manchester United didn't even want Tielemans initially. They wanted Ederson, the Brazilian midfielder.
Right, they had a deal in place.
Everything was set. But the move totally collapses because Ederson fails his medical test.
Which means Months of scouting and negotiating just evaporate in an hour.
Right. So United scrambles, they pivot immediately, and activate Tielemans' clause at Villa.
Triggering the Villa panic buy we just talked about.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, United is still scrambling. Even with Tielemans and that Santos guy they bought earlier, they are still looking for one more midfielder.
They are desperate for balance in the center of the pitch.
Yeah, they did manage to sort out their backup goalie situation, though, bringing in Karl Darlow on a free transfer as the projected second-choice keeper.
Which is smart, low-risk business.
But going back to that failed medical, it wasn't just a one-off thing this summer. Inter Milan had the exact same nightmare.
In Italy, yes. Anan Kaleli.
Right. Kaleli's move to Inter completely collapses after he fails his medical at the last second.
Same situation. The whole plan for the season goes out the window.
So Inter pivots immediately, just like United, and shifts their focus to the English defender Djed Spence.
It's brutal. I mean, think about the scouting department.
Yeah, how do you even handle that?
You spend a year tracking a player, building a tactical plan around them. And an MRI result forces you to scrap it all and buy someone completely different within 24 hours.
Because Djed Spence is not the same type of player as Kaleli.
Not at all. Spence is an aggressive, overlapping wingback. Kaleli's totally different. The manager literally has to change his tactics because of a medical scan he can't control.
It really is an expensive game of roulette. And speaking of pivots, we have to talk about Arsenal.
Oh, Arsenal. They're playing a very strange game of chess right now.
It's bizarre. So let's review. They get victimized by Chelsea's 117 million hijack for Morgan Rogers.
Painful to lose your top target to a rival.
Extremely. Then they lose their 16-year-old wonderkid, Karen Thompson, to Newcastle.
A big hit to their academy.
And then they willingly sell Leandro Trossard to Turkish club Besiktas for 20 million.
Which depletes their attack even more.
Right. So you lose your attacking depth, you miss your star winger target, you lose a wonder kid. What is Arsenal's response to all this? They sign former Leeds United goalkeeper Illan Meslier on a free transfer.
Yep.
And the reports say Meslier is plotted to be the number 2 or maybe even the number 3 keeper, entirely depending on what happens with Kepa.
It's true.
So wait, help me make sense of this. You lose your attack, and your strategy is to hoard goalkeepers.
If you look at it from a pure football fan's perspective, it's incredibly frustrating.
That makes no sense.
But if you view it as asset management, it's actually a very low-risk, high-reward strategy.
Ow! Explain the economics of hoarding backup goalies.
So the backup goalkeeper market is unique. If a top club loses their starting striker, they can adapt the formation. But if they lose their starting keeper to a bad injury, panic sets in immediately.
Because the drop-off to the youth keeper is huge.
Exactly. So Arsenal gets Meslier on a free transfer. No fee, just wages. He provides great depth. But if another Champions League club has an injury crisis in January,
Oh, I see.
Arsenal holds all the leverage. They can flip Meslier for 10 or 15 million to a desperate buyer.
So they are treating goalkeepers like tradable stocks.
Basically, yes. It doesn't fix their attack, but it is a shrewd way to generate profit in a volatile market.
Wow. Okay, I kind of get it now. But let's look at the player they sold, Trossard. Because him going to Besiktas for 20 million ties into this massive, broader theme.
The shift in global football power.
Right. We are seeing so much prime talent moving to the peripheries, specifically Turkey and Saudi Arabia.
Turkey is making huge moves this window.
They really are. Trossard goes to Besiktas for 20 €. We already mentioned Ugo Chukwu going to Galatasaray with that 30 euro option. And then the Mason Greenwood saga.
A very complicated situation off the pitch.
Yeah, but strictly on the pitch. Manud officially informed Marseille they won't activate his buyback clause.
Right.
So instead, Greenwood joins Fenerbahçe for 40 million plus 2 million in add-ons on a contract to June 2030.
And a massive salary of 10 million per season.
That is insane money for the Turkish league.
It really is. Historically, Turkey was seen as a retirement home for fading stars in their 30s. But dropping 40 million on Greenwood and buying Trossard, they are buying players in their prime now.
They are acting like a top 5 European league.
Exactly.
And Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing, just with even more money. The pipeline is becoming a two-way street.
That's the most fascinating part.
Yeah, so first, the incoming talent. Francisco Trincao is moving to Al Ahly for a total of $50 million.
Big money move.
And Al-Shabaab is pursuing Stefan El Sharali, offering him a $9 million per year salary.
Again, Typical Saudi moves, pulling established names out of Europe.
Right, but here's the reverse migration I was talking about. Brazilian striker Marcos Leonardo is actually leaving Saudi club Al Hilal.
Yeah.
He is moving back to Europe to join Ajax in Amsterdam for 17.5 million.
I really think this is the most important deal of this summer.
Really? Why Marcos Leonardo to Ajax?
Because it proves the Saudi Pro League is not a point of no return.
Oh, because everyone used to think if you go there, your career in Europe is dead.
Exactly. Agents were terrified to send 22-year-olds there. But this proves that the Saudi League can act as a financial incubator and a stepping stone.
That completely changes the pitch to a young player.
Totally. You tell them, go to Saudi Arabia, make generational wealth for 2 years, stay fit, and elite development clubs like Ajax will still buy you.
Wow, so Saudi Arabia isn't just a retirement league anymore, it's part of the development pipeline.
And that should absolutely terrify mid-table clubs in England and Spain.
Because they can't compete with that pitch.
Exactly.
Man, this window is just crazy. Let's look at the final puzzle pieces across Europe, some of these background moves that are super calculated.
The smart clubs doing quiet business.
Yeah, starting in La Liga. Real Betis just secured Real Madrid left back Fran Garcia for only $4 million.
Which sounds incredibly low.
It does.
Yeah.
But there's a massive 50% sell-on clause attached. What is Madrid's strategy here? Why give him away for $4 million?
It's essentially venture capitalism. Real Madrid's squad is too crowded. Garcia won't play enough to develop.
So his value would just drop if he stays.
Right. And if they just loan him out, the borrowing club might not prioritize him. But by selling him to Betis for almost nothing, Betis owns him. They will play him and develop him.
And because of the 50% clause?
If Garcia becomes a star and Betis sells him to the Premier League for $40 million in 3 years, Real Madrid gets $20 million of that.
Wow.
They get a massive payday without having paid a single cent of his wages for 3 years. They're parking him there.
That is so smart. It's like outsourcing player development.
Exactly.
But we're seeing some interesting defensive maneuvers in Serie A too. Fiorentina is loaning the Romanian defender Radu Dragosin for $1.5 million with a $17.5 million buy option.
A very sensible move.
And Bologna is securing young Frosinone defender Wisdomeni on loan, also with an option to buy.
See, these are the exact opposite of the 100 million Man City gambles.
Right, it's low risk. Try before you buy.
Exactly. You pay a tiny loan fee, integrate them into the team, and if it works, you trigger the option. If not, you send them back.
It makes a lot of sense. And then we have the free agents making moves. Callum Wilson is joining Brentford on a free transfer, just a 1-year contract.
Pragmatic business.
And veteran Jan Sommer is leaving Inter Milan to join Club Brugge on a free.
Both moves are just about getting immediate experience in the dressing room without hurting the budget.
Right. Brentford knows Wilson can grab a few goals to keep them safe from relegation.
Exactly.
Speaking of relegation battles, Issa Diop is moving from Fulham to Ipswich Town for $10 million. Ipswich is newly promoted, so they desperately need defensive help.
$10 million for Premier League experience is basically a mandatory survival tax for Ipswich.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Over in Germany, Hoffenheim sent a bid to RB Salzburg for their winger, Adam Dagam.
Another quiet but solid developmental move.
But then we have this stalled negotiation that is just fascinating, the Crescencio-Somerville saga.
Oh, a classic game of market poker.
Yes, so Manchester United is circling him, watching closely, but AS Roma threw down this massive opening bid, $40 million plus $5 million in add-ons.
$45 million total is a very serious bid.
Right. But West Ham rejected it completely. They didn't even counter. They just demanded a flat $50 million.
They're playing a very dangerous game here.
Because they want United to outbid Roma.
Exactly. West Ham knows United is watching.
Yep.
By publicly rejecting Roma, they are trying to artificially inflate the price and trigger a bidding war.
But what if United walks away and Roma gets insulted and leaves too?
That's the risk. West Ham could be left holding an unhappy player who didn't get his big move. They are pushing all their chips to the middle of the table.
High stakes for sure. And finally, just to cap off the news, a sort of sad end to a negotiation. Cape Verde goalkeeper Vozinha was in advanced talks to join the Chilean side Colo-Colo.
It would have been a great final chapter for his career.
But reports say the negotiations totally collapsed at the last minute.
It happens so often.
Yeah, it just goes to show not every deal ends with the player holding the scarf.
No, especially cross-continental moves.
Yeah.
Visas, agent fees, sudden wage demands. Deals can die 2 feet from the finish line.
Man, okay. Let's just take a breath. When you zoom out and look at the sheer scale of everything we just talked about, it is dizzying.
It really is an ecosystem running on pure adrenaline right now.
We started with a 117 million hijack in London. We talked about a 100 million teenage gamble to beat inflation, the Aston Villa panic buys because of a failed medical in Manchester, Arsenal hoarding goalkeepers, and the whole power dynamic shifting to Turkey and Saudi Arabia.
It is absolute madness.
Which brings me back to the World Cup, to Spain.
Right.
Spain proved that a cohesive, systemic, unified team wins the ultimate glory.
They wrote the blueprint.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on. How many of these chaotic 100 million panic buys actually build a winning culture?
It's a great question.
And how many of these clubs are just playing incredibly expensive roulette, desperately hoping the ball lands on their number?
Are they building a strategy or just buying the illusion of action?
Exactly. Well, thank you all once again for joining us on this massive deep dive into the transfer market chaos.
It's been great.
Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next show. Until then, keep an eye on the market, and we'll see you next time.